Sarah woke up on her 18th birthday expecting balloons, cake, and maybe a few poorly wrapped gifts from her adoptive parents. The faint scent of vanilla cake wafted through the house, an unusual treat, considering her mom rarely baked. But something fell off. The air was heavy, her parents distant, their smiles forced. By afternoon, still in her pajamas, Sarah was called into the living room. Her father's voice, cold and robotic, sent a chill down her spine. "Sit down," he said, his tone eerily similar to when she'd spilled milk as a kid. Her mother sat beside him, avoiding eye contact, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The silence was suffocating. Then her mother spoke, her voice flat. "You were adopted." The words hit Sarah like a freight train. Her father added, "We took you in when you were 2. Your birth mother couldn't care for you." The room spun. Sarah's entire world, her identity, her family, her life, was a lie. But it got worse. Her mother continued, "You're old enough now. It's time you find your own way." Her father slid a small duffel bag across the floor, packed with some clothes and a wad of cash. "We've arranged a hostel for you until you get a job," her mother said, as if kicking Sarah out on her birthday was just another Tuesday. Sarah stood frozen, gripping the duffel bag, her knuckles white. She didn't cry or scream. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you," and walked out the door. Not as a daughter, but as a stranger. But Sarah wasn't one to crumble. Tucked away in her mind was a secret she'd uncovered weeks earlier, a birth certificate and a letter, hidden in an old envelope at the bottom of a drawer. The name on the certificate? Elena Vassila, her biological mother. That discovery was the first crack in the facade of her life, and Sarah was determined to shatter it completely. The letter Sarah found wasn't just a relic, it was a lifeline. Written by Elena, it hinted at a woman forced to give up her child, silenced by forces beyond her control. Sarah's adoptive parents had never mentioned Elena, and their secrecy only fueled her suspicions. Who was Elena Vassila, and why had she been erased from Sarah's life? With only a duffel bag and a burning need for answers, Sarah set out to uncover the truth. She started with the internet, scouring for any trace of Elena Vassila. The name led her to a startling discovery. Elena was a psychiatrist who had worked in mental health. But her career ended in a scandal. Old newspaper articles revealed Elena had accused Dr. Richard Halverson, a prominent doctor, of conducting unethical experiments on patients at a psychiatric clinic. She tried to blow the whistle, but the system turned against her. Labeled as unstable, Elena was institutionalized, her career destroyed, her voice silenced. Sarah's heart sank as she read on. Elena wasn't unfit. She was a victim of a corrupt system. But the real gut punch came when Sarah dug into her adoptive father, Thomas Briner. He wasn't just a donor to the Halverson Foundation, as she'd once thought. He was deeply involved in its operations, tied to the very organization that had silenced Elena. Sarah's adoption wasn't an act of kindness. It was part of a sinister plan. She wasn't a daughter. They'd used her as a pawn, a success story, to prove their system worked. Her entire life was a lie, orchestrated to protect the Foundation's secrets. Sarah's anger burned, but it fueled her resolve. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for Elena, for the truth, and for everyone silenced by the Halverson Foundation. With no clear plan and limited funds, Sarah took a job at a local diner, scrubbing dishes until her hands bled. The work was grueling, but every dollar brought her closer to Ridge View Center, the facility where Elena had been transferred after Silver Birch Hospital shut down. After 5 exhausting days, Sarah had enough for a bus ticket to Glenridge, where Ridge View stood. The ride was long, giving her time to reflect on the lies that had shaped her life. She wasn't just a girl searching for her mom. She was a warrior on a mission. When she arrived, Ridge View was nothing like she'd imagined. The faded sign and crumbling facade looked more like a haunted mansion than a medical facility. Inside, the air was stale. The receptionist barely glanced up as Sarah asked for Elena. Led down a dim hallway, Sarah's heart pounded. The door creaked open, revealing a thin, pale woman with gray-streaked hair sitting by a window. "Elena?" Sarah's voice trembled. The woman turned, her eyes flickering with recognition. "I know who you are," Elena whispered, her voice hoarse but steady. "You're my daughter." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as Elena began to speak. She recounted a story of betrayal and survival, how she'd been a dedicated psychiatrist, how she'd tried to expose Dr. Halverson's abuses, only to be silenced. Her daughter had been taken from her, handed to the Briner family, who were complicit in the Foundation's schemes. The truth was darker than Sarah could have imagined. Her adoption wasn't about love, it was about control, a way to erase Elena's legacy and protect the Foundation's secrets. Sarah's resolve hardened. This wasn't just about her past, it was about justice. She began compiling evidence, Elena's testimony, archived articles, and records of her adoptive father's ties to the Halverson Foundation. She reached out to journalists, private investigators, and legal experts, determined to expose the truth. Doubt crept in. What if no one believed her? What if the Foundation's power was too great? But Sarah pushed forward, driven by a fire she hadn't known she possessed. The closer she got to the truth, the more dangerous it became. Others had tried to expose the Foundation and paid a heavy price. But Sarah wasn't alone anymore. Elena's story gave her strength, and the allies she found, journalists, activists, and lawyers, rallied behind her. She didn't confront her adoptive parents immediately. She knew that would be reckless. Instead, she built her case meticulously, ensuring the truth would be undeniable. When Sarah finally faced her adoptive parents, it wasn't with anger or vengeance, it was with the truth. She presented the evidence, Elena's story, the Foundation's corruption, and their role in it all. Thomas Breener's face paled, but Sarah didn't need his approval anymore. She had reclaimed her voice, her identity, and her purpose. The confrontation wasn't the end, it was the beginning of a larger fight. Sarah's story spread, sparking investigations into the Halverson Foundation. Journalists published exposés, and the authorities began digging into the Foundation's dark history. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, threats, and moments of fear, but Sarah never wavered. She wasn't just fighting for herself or Elena, she was fighting for everyone who'd been silenced by a system built on lies. Sarah's journey transformed her. The scared 18-year-old who'd been kicked out on her birthday was gone, replaced by a woman who knew her strength. She'd given Elena her voice back, exposed a decades-long conspiracy, and reclaimed her future. Walking away from her adoptive parents' home, Sarah felt a peace she'd never known. The lies no longer defined her, she did. Her story is a testament to the power of truth, resilience, and the courage to confront the past. Sarah didn't just uncover a painful reality, she used it to build a better future, not just for herself, but for everyone touched by the Halverson Foundation's corruption. The truth can be painful, but it can also set you free.